What's up everybody, it's your boy Duty back again with another video, and oh my lord, our boy DSP has decided to create an emergency response video to the allegations, well not the allegations, the fact that he got busted trying to go behind KeemStar's back and try to create the LolCow podcast with Boogie and Wings and try to cut out KeemStar from his cut. And it is so interesting what our boy Phil has to say. Of course, he denies it, but yet doesn't deny it, and acts like, "Oh, I'm not sure what's going on." Playing the fool, playing ignorant, which of course just pisses me off because everyone knows he knows what he's trying to do, and he got snagged. Oh my lord! And if you guys watch my video, it was during his Skyrim playthrough. Someone had commented, probably about my video, where where Boogie let the cat out the bag, and of course KeemStar responded, and yes, your boy Duty did reach out to KeemStar and let him know about this little plot by DSP. So yesterday, you guys know, if you saw my video, Phil rambled on for about 20 minutes before his Oblivion gameplay, and of course cut that chatter out, and then decided, since he got snagged, he was going to create this 13-minute video where he proclaims his innocence. So let's get into the video.
What is going on, everyone? Phil here, and I'd like to clear the air. There's something going on right now, a little bit of misinformation all over the internet, and a lot of questions about, I guess, some stuff that has been said by various parties over the last couple of days regarding my possible involvement. It came up on my Oblivion stream tonight, of all.
Okay, I love when he acts like, "Oh, I'm not sure what's going on. This just came out of nowhere." And then give him a few minutes and he exposes himself for being a liar.
Times, and I'm like, this is weird because it's derailing my stream. And obviously, you guys know me, if you are a fan of mine, I like to keep things on topic. I don't like to have to interrupt big gameplay sessions talking about nonsense that has nothing to do with said session. So what I decided tonight to do is, after I finished my stream, said, let me just make a video talking about what's really going on, at least from my perspective, so that way people know the truth about my side of everything going on. And
okay, so he's gonna hit us with this is my truth as I understand it. No, there's no my truth and your truth. It's the truth, Phil. And everyone knows you got snagged. And KeemStar clapped back yesterday on Twitter, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but I just find it funny that Phil is just floundering over here. And you know he does when he has to create an emergency video at midnight to talk about this.
And that way I'm going to leave it at that. And I really don't feel like derailing my other content talking about this, so I'm making a special video. I'll probably set this as my featured video here on DSP Gaming for a day or two, just so enough people can see it, and hopefully this will quell any rumors or anything, alright? So here's the deal. I guess this all started where, I guess, Boogie went on a podcast. It might have even been the Side Scrollers podcast. I haven't even really confirmed that. And in an interview, was talking about, the whole idea of me, him, and Wings being on a podcast that was going to have KeemStar's involvement. And I guess Boogie still has some resentment there where he's upset. He says things like, I cost him and Wings $50,000. Alright, that is completely untrue. I can't cost someone money when I'm not involved with something. Alright? What apparently the idea was that KeemStar had is that he wanted to do what he called a LolCow podcast, that he wanted to have it be me and Wings and Boogie, and he was apparently going to pay us $50,000 each as a signing bonus, and we were going to each own a certain percent of the show, and his role was that I guess he wanted to push the show to various platforms and try to get it on there and try to get advertising and try to get product placements and try to syndicate it and essentially make money off of us doing a show, okay? Now,
I love how he says try to make money off of us. No, what he was doing was trying to form a partnership between the four of you guys. And KeemStar's role in this would be the promoter, would be getting advertisements, would be pushing out the podcast, would be probably creating a format that people would like. That would be his involvement in this, Phil. And the reason why you would need someone like KeemStar is because no one would ever touch you, Wings, or Boogie with a 10-foot pole, because you guys are toxic. You guys have a horrible reputation, and businesses don't want to deal with that. Now, KeemStar has a bigger reputation than you, so he may be able to go and actually promote and get sponsorships and get people interested in his podcast. Not you. So essentially, you are paying him for his brand, for his goodwill, for his backing. And at that, you guys would all be partners. So essentially, you guys would all earn a quarter of the podcast. So there is no him making you're making it seem like he just threw out an idea and he's going to collect the check for doing nothing, and that's wrong and incorrect, Phil.
You guys know me. If you're a fan of mine, I don't like KeemStar. I don't like the content he puts out, nor do I like what he stands for as a person. I think that he's kind of a despicable person. Yes, I think personally he has bad morals or has no morals, and I don't stand for that. I don't want any involvement with the guy. I never wanted to. I would never do business with this man. I already told my story about how last year he was trying to reach me. We had a complete disconnect where he wouldn't even call me at the assigned times he was supposed to call me to even talk about said podcast. So I never knew about it. I never knew what it was. I never agreed to be a part of it.
That's a lie, Phil. Everyone knows that you know what the offer was. It was essentially a podcast. Even I know the details, Phil, so I know you know the details, but you're trying to feign ignorance here because you got busted and you're lying. And the funny thing is, keep listening, where he exposes himself some more.
The discussion never even happened, okay? That simple. So, I mean, it's kind of weird that Keem talked directly to Boogie and Wings about it first. Apparently they had agreed, decided to talk to me last, and it didn't work out because he couldn't even contact me, nor did I have any desire to do business with him anyway. Sounds like he was promising something to them he had no right to promise, you know? Oh, I'm going to give you $50,000 if Darkside Phil will do the show too. Well, I'm not doing the show. I had no intention of ever doing it with this man involved, so I don't know how that's me costing them money. That's KeemStar's fault for essentially having an idea and not even seeing if it's something that would be possible, okay? He promised them the world, he overpromised, and he underdelivered. How much have I talked about that in my own content?
It was your fault because you failed to take time to actually have a conversation with the man. You wanted him to email you, and he was saying, look, dude, let's chat, let's DM, let me give you a call. And you refused to take his call. You refused to do anything because, of course, KeemStar didn't do it the way you wanted it to do it. So you sitting here and saying you didn't cost Boogie or Wings $50K is false. You did. You cost him that money because of your ignorance and stupidity and refusal to modify your schedule just to meet with someone that's willing to make you a business offer and give you a payday. So yes, Phil, you are responsible for that.
You don't do that, right? So quite frankly, I have no involvement in this whatsoever. It gets brought up on my interview with Side Scrollers back in March, and you know, I'm like, I don't know what this has to do with anything. I don't fucking care about it. I don't like the guy. I don't want involvement with him. I have no desire to talk to him ever again. All right. So Boogie bringing this up, listen, I can understand if the guy's strapped for cash, he needs the help, and he's sad he didn't get the $50K, but I don't really think it's fair that that's put on my shoulders. I had no involvement with this show whatsoever from the start. I didn't even know what the offer really was, because I never talked to Keem about it, nor did I desire to, period. Okay? So anyway, that's part one. Now part two is, I guess Boogie had mentioned.
That's a lie, because we know that you came on your show and said, I told KeemStar to email me and to talk about it, and because you didn't want to call because you were streaming or whatever the case was, and you refused to take his call during your streams. So that's a lie when you sit there and say, you know, I wasn't approached, or whatever the case is. You just lied. You just lied because you did have that conversation with Keem and you wanted him to email you. So what you just said right now is false, Phil.
On this interview, or whatever it was, that we had been having discussions behind the scenes about possibly starting our own podcast, and when we're talking about that, we're talking about Boogie, Wings, and me, okay? Here's the truth of the matter from my perspective, is we have had very early discussions. I mean, I had been talking to Boogie about this, you know, last year, saying, I don't want to do anything with Keem, but if you want to do something with me, just you and me, we could have a conversation, we could do our own show, we could just interview each other, just for the benefit of each other's channels, whatever you would want to do. And we kind of shot back and forth about it for a while, and in fact, I'll be honest with you guys, I was thinking of maybe interviewing Boogie for my new DSP Reacts channel at some point this year, but that didn't work out. As you know, my interview show is kind of on hiatus for various reasons, so it just kind of cooled down and there was no real discussion. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I got contacted by a third party, basically saying that this person was representing kind of Boogie and Wings and was going to be the third party to put the whole thing together. No, it was not KeemStar, and in fact, the way it was pushed to me was this will have zero KeemStar involvement whatsoever. So I'm not arranging for any podcast. Someone reached out to me as a neutral third party saying, I'm working on this with Boogie and Wings, and we want you on it, and we'd like to do a show together, yada, yada, yada. And we've had very few, maybe a few back and forth emails and discussions. We have not met. We have not discussed anything.
That is a lie. That is a lie, Phil. That is a lie. Boogie specifically said that you contacted him and talked about you had a third party, working with a third party to set up the podcast. Not that Boogie and Wings or some third party reached out to, or there was another third party that reached out to Boogie and Wings, and then they reached out to you. That is false and a lie, Phil.
Like, literally, this is the earliest planning stages of anything you could possibly even think of, okay? But really, we haven't worked anything out. We don't know exactly how it's going to work. We don't know what the schedule would be. We don't even know, I don't even know how we would make it happen yet. What we need to do is kind of sit down and put our heads together. And what I've been told is that could happen and probably will happen after this fight that Wings and Boogie are, I guess, going to have sometime this month. I literally don't even know when it is. I think it's within a week or two. I have no clue because it has KeemStar's involvement. I don't care. I want nothing to do with it. So I'm not paying attention to it. But hey, the fight goes down. Hopefully both of them are healthy and safe after the fight. And then I get contacted again about, hey, let's make this happen. Let's talk. Let's have a meeting. Then I'm all for it. Okay? Now, in the meantime, there was a little bit more conversation. For example, one of the things discussed was that, they figured I don't want to call it the LolCow cast, to which I responded and said, yeah, number one, I don't want to be involved.
Wait a minute, Phil. You just said right now that there were no discussions, that it was just an idea of, hey, maybe we may want to do this, and then we'll talk about it out of the gate. And now you're sitting here saying we've had discussions about what to call it. Phil, you don't have discussions about what to call it, right, until you've actually talked for a while to get a feel of what the podcast is going to be, right? You just don't say to someone, hey man, I want to do a podcast with you, let's talk about it, we'll get together and talk about it in the future. Oh, by the way, I want to name it this. No, it doesn't work that way. The naming of it is something that you do later on, once you get the ideas and so on going, how the podcast is going to go. The reason you do that is because you want the name of the show to be something similar to what the idea of the show is. So if you guys are going to talk about gaming, right, you would assume that the title of your show would be something with gaming, right, Phil? Just like you call yourself DSP Gaming or DSP Reacts, right? So having those conversations about what you want to name it tells me that this was deeper and you had more conversations with Boogie and Wings than you're leading on to.
And anything that makes fun of us, degrades us, or makes us feel like shit and calling us LolCows does that. I think that's stupid. If we're going to start our own show, it should be a fun show. It's different to have a little bit of self-teasing. It's another thing to make an entire show fully degrading and catering to trolls. I don't want to be involved in that. That's number one. Number two, I guess KeemStar had originally intended to call this podcast the LolCow cast, to which I kind of said, I don't think it would be right for us to try to use that name. KeemStar absolutely did come up with that name, and to use that, he could definitely have some kind of a stake to interject and say, hey, I have a problem with that. That was my name, and that was my idea. He's right. I actually, from a business perspective, could see having an issue with someone using that name that someone else came up with. So, in that regard, I think we should call the show something different. And I did state that.
The problem, oh my god, this guy has no business acumen whatsoever. The problem simply isn't just the name. The problem is the concept. For example, if I was a producer and I was creating a show and I had the idea, I had the cast members, I had everything going, right? And then let's say you were one of the cast members and you decided, hey, you know what? I want the money for myself. I don't want to work with this person. I'm going to go and do the same exact thing, but just call it something different. You can't do that, Phil. You can't, Phil. And that's what you're trying to do here. You're essentially trying to take someone else's idea, right? Do the same exact thing and then try to make it seem like you're repackaging it and making it different because you're calling it something else. And I mean, not that you can't do that, because essentially all podcasts are pretty much the same. But the mere fact that you're trying to sit here and now try to justify that, oh no, this is different than what KeemStar is doing because we're naming it something else. Remember, it reminds me of the whole Level 1 podcast. Remember where there was a person that had a group of guys, they were called Level 1 Podcast, right? And then Phil came and stole that name and then said, oh no, it's different. It's the Level 1 Podcast. It's not different, Phil. You still stole the idea.
In a couple emails, but that was it. I never had any direct discussion with these people about it. It's just initial back and forth emails and that's it.
Right there, another lie. You don't have initial conversations and start talking about branding of the podcast. That's something that you talk about way later on. So again, this tells me that Phil is lying and there were more deeper, longer discussions than what he's leading to.
And that's that. That's literally it. There's been no major discussion about, money or how the show will work or anything really like that. Again, we didn't even have an initial meeting yet. I'm waiting for that fight to go down and hopefully these guys to be safe afterward and then for us to sit down and put our heads together and try to figure out exactly how it would work. And that's it.
It doesn't matter because KeemStar already tweeted out that he already spoke with Boogie and Wings, and seems like they already have a deal in the works that's cutting you completely out. So they're looking actually for a third person to be one of the additional hosts on this show, Phil. So there you go. Eat that. Suck that, Phil. Suck that. And I'm glad KeemStar was made aware of this, and he did shut your ass down, and which is what he did. So he posted yesterday, as I posted in my last video, that he essentially reached out to Boogie and Wings, and they have some deal, either a verbal deal or they have some idea. And that makes sense, being the fact that they are working together with the boxing match, and they know that KeemStar actually can deliver versus what Phil is trying to do. So suck that, Phil. I'm laughing. I'm so happy that yet again something you thought that you were going to be sneaky about and try to make some money on blew up in your face. It just blew up all over your face. The same thing like in March when you tried to sneak onto the Side Scrollers podcast and word got out, and we all know the history around that. So there you go, Phil.
So really there's been nothing to mention. I figured, what's the point of talking with my audience about it until we've actually sat down and solidified some more details and even know that it's going to happen.
You did talk about it. You brought it up last Sunday during the React content where nobody, you didn't get any tips. You started talking about what do people want to see in the show, and then at the very end you let everyone know, hey, I'm working on a big project. I can't talk about it, but it's gonna come out. You guys are gonna like this. Remember that, Phil? So you are talking about it and you are mentioning it, Phil.
The kind of person, as you know, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Why hype up the possibility of a podcast with these guys if we haven't even sat down to see if it's viable yet? How to make it happen, how to make it work. We haven't. So why talk about it publicly? Boogie apparently chose to talk about it publicly first. So now people are asking me all about it. So I wanted to tell you my perspective, what's going on. Again, as long as this is a show that's not going to be 100% about degrading ourselves, catering to trolls, but instead having a fun show that's maybe about three guys talking about games and pop culture and life in general and news. And yes, it's okay to razz yourself and to make fun of yourself, but at the same time not to be 100%, toxic. Right? I'd be down for that, something like that. In fact, I would welcome something like that. Most of my content is just me talking directly to my audience or to myself. So to actually have a nice interaction with a couple of other gentlemen, I think would be pretty cool. All right? Just being honest. Now, the last part of this puzzle is that tonight, as I'm streaming Oblivion, someone asked me the Boogie question, and I basically gave the answer I just gave, just not in as much detail. All of a sudden, someone starts posting up in my chat tonight, oh, KeemStar just tweeted, DSP is off the LolCow cast because he's not responding to emails. What the fuck are you talking about? Have I not made it abundantly clear on the Side Scrollers podcast, in my own content after the fact? I have publicly stated time after time after time after time, I want no involvement whatsoever with KeemStar. Zero. I don't want to be told about him. I don't want to be in content with him. I don't want to have any business relationship. I want to be left out of his mouth. Period. I have no desire to have any associations with this man or any of his businesses at all. Now, he's tried to come onto my streams and derail them with his multiple YouTube accounts. They're banned. He's tried to tweet me. They're blocked. I don't want anything to do with this fucking guy. Period. I'm done wasting my time talking about KeemStar. So the
Okay, yet again, Phil has no clue what he's talking about. So I'm actually going to pull up KeemStar's tweet. Because, of course, he just listens to his dent heads and he doesn't go and research this by himself. So essentially what KeemStar did was he went on and basically said, after he found out that DSP was trying to steal his idea, he went in and basically said, DSP has been kicked off the LolCow podcast for not responding to emails. Wings and Boogies needs a third host. So that's what he posted, right? And then after that, let's see what else. Oh, he was asking about the clip regarding him talking about it tonight. I sent it to him, so he has it. Let's see what else here real quick. So I think it's under that initial tweet. So let's go. Let's see. Where is Keem here? I posted it in the last video. I'm trying to find where it's at. But essentially, what he did was, in the conversation, he talked about how him and Boogie and Wings already cut a deal. So I'm assuming that he chatted with them after he got wind that Phil was trying to steal his idea and basically said, hey, let's cut a deal. I'll give you guys a 50 grand, 25%, and then we'll get a third person and boot DSP out. And that's exactly what happened. So let's see. Hold on a second. I'm trying to see if I can actually find that post by KeemStar. Yeah, I don't see it. It was in there, but it's in my other video, by the way. So yes. So that's what KeemStar basically said. And Phil was so oblivious, and he thinks, oh no, my deal with Boogie and Wings is still happening. Nah, nope. KeemStar undercut your ass and basically got Wings and Boogie to come to his side and agree to do the podcast. And he's looking for a third person, Phil.
Guys publicly tweeting DSP is out of the LolCow cast because he's not responding to emails. I was never in the LolCow cast, you tremendous egotistical brain dead idiot. What the fuck are you tweeting about? You're a moron. I was never on it and never wanted to be and never will be involved with you in a business capacity. You're nuts. Alright? So I have no idea what that tweet even meant. It has nothing whatsoever to do with me. It's probably just another publicity stunt that he's trying to pull to get attention and cause drama for me. I don't care. Alright? Let this video clear the air. I have no involvement with him and have no plans to ever again. If I never have to mention the guy again, that's great. But knowing him, he'll keep bringing me up and he'll have to come up again at some point just to clear the air that things haven't changed. But in the meantime, yeah, would I be interested in doing a podcast with Boogie and Wings in some capacity in the future? I think it would be something interesting, at least to explore. Not committing to it, but finding out how it would work and exactly, you know, how could we make it happen? What would be the premise of the show? My question really is, how would it work? Because don't you need, like, a host? Wouldn't you need a host to direct the show, to direct the topics and all of that? And who would that be? Would we find another person? Would it be one of us? You know, I'd be down for that. I'd be down for one of them to be the host, whatever, you know. But those are the kind of discussions we have to have amongst ourselves and figure out the format and go from there, which we haven't done yet. You know, so I think it's silly. First of all, I'll be honest, I do think it was silly that Boogie brought it up because I think it's too early. I think it's way too early to bring it up when we haven't even sat down ourselves and had the conversation. Why is he publicly talking about it? I think that is jumping the gun a bit because now you're going to get people excited and you're going to get people talking about it when we don't have anything to offer yet, okay? When we do have that opportunity, I will let you all know, you know, from my perspective, what's happened or whatever. Right now, and by the way, nothing may happen at all either, and that's fine too. I'm cool with making my own content on my own channels. I always have been. That's never going to change, but
Exactly, Phil. That's never going to change. So your delusions here of grandeur are ridiculous and stupid and funny. So big ups to KeemStar for shutting that nonsense down and basically putting DSP back where he belongs, back to his level 1 podcast. Continue begging for your dollar tips, Phil, and just, you know, you're not one of the big boys, Phil. You need to just cut it out. You tried doing it with the Side Scrollers podcast, trying to get yourself out there, trying to get your face out there, trying to get your name out there, and it blew up in your face. And you tried doing it again by stealing KeemStar's idea, and what happened? You got exposed, it blew up in your face, and it's not going to happen. So I'm going to enjoy the next few days of people shoving it in your face and making fun of your dumbass. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.